Hello everyone, this is a demonstration video for full web API task 2.3.22. So, in this task we were required to implement full web API. So, let's firstly know what is full web API. So, full web API is a complete implementation of an API that provides access to functionalities and sources of a web application. It it provides the necessary endpoints for endpoints, methods, and logic required to interact an application over the web. So, the primary use of full web API is to provide communication and data exchange between different softwares over a network. And in this task, you are required to use the full web API based on the MVC architecture. So, the MVC architecture stands for MVC stands for a model view controller. It's a software design pattern commonly used in development of web application, and it has three components. First one is model. So model represents the application data and business logic, and the second is view. So view represents the presentation layer of application. It is responsible for rendering the user interface and presenting data to the user in a readable format. And the last one is the controller. So controller acts as an intermediary between model and the view. It receives a user input from the view processes, and using it the appropriate logic in the model and updates the view within the results. So the controller basically handles the request of the user, like requests from different endpoints, like from get, post, put. So the MVC architecture helps in a separation of in promotes separation of concerns, modular design, maintainability of code, and into distinct components. Like here we can give our code a basic modularity, like separate different components from each other. It provides a reusability of code, testability of code, and scalability of code by providing the full application in different components so that it can be scaled on a large basis. So now let's jump into the code. So starting from the program.cs file. So in program.cs, firstly we made the builder file. So this file is the entry point for the application. Here firstly we initialize the web application using the create builder function, and then we enable its services for using controllers by using services dot add controllers. This helps to this helps our application to enable the use of controllers. And then we configure the HTTP request pipeline to using the app.use developer exception page. And after that, if the environment development uses, finally the application is ready by using app.run, and also we are using app.https redirection to redirect our http request to https. Now then we have our robot command.cs. Basically this file contains all the properties and the variables used in the robot for using the robot commands. Like we have defined a robot class which contains id, string, description, is move command, date time type of created date, and modified date. These are the properties which are used in robot command. And then we have defined a constructor for it to create an object for the of robot command class. Similarly, we have map.cs. So this contains the properties and the variables for uh, map class. It includes id, columns, rows, name, description, created date, modified date. And similarly, as for robot command.cs robot class, we have a constructor for map class also, which includes id, column, rows, and all the necessary fields required in the map class. Now, for enabling the http request, we have defined using the MVC architecture, we have made a controller folder which includes two files, mapcontroller.cs and robotcontroller.cs. So firstly, let's jump into the robotcontroller.cs. So this is the code for robotcontroller.cs. Basically, this file contains the robot controller class and responsible for making HTTP requests related to robot commands. Now, starting from the we have used the Microsoft ASP netcore.mvc. So this command helps to enable the MVC architecture for using the controllers in this task. And then we are using system.collection.generic. So this helps to enable the features of generic class and to use its collections, interfaces, etc. in our code. And starting from the first request of our code, which is the namespace, basically it is defined in the full web API namespace, and the API controller attribute, this is the root for the this attribute indicates that the class is an API controller and it enables various features such as automatic model validation, binding incoming HTTP requests. Then we define a root for all our commands, like by defining the API/robot commands. So this attribute specifies the base root for all endpoints in the robot controller. So uh, as we have done in proof of concept or in minimal API, we have to define each and every endpoint differently, but here we define a base root for all endpoints. Then we have the robot controller class, and this line declares the robot controller class for which inherits from the controller base class provided by our MVC architecture and the ASP netcore model. And this class serves as a controller for handling HTTP requests related to robot commands. So now, starting from the this one is the uh, defining of all our commands, and the defining a list of commands using the robot command types which are of read only. So this is static list containing the instances of robot class. It simulates a data source for robot commands in the absence of database. Each robot command object represents a command with property ID, with properties such as id, name, description, or whether it is a is move whether it is a move command or anything else using the true or false. And also we have other fields like create now and updated now, updated date, create date and updated date using the date time function. Then we move on to our first get request, which is http get I action result get. So this method is used for indicating that it handles the http get request, and it returns okay, it returns all commands. When we run this, it will return the list of all commands using the provided in our commands list which was defined above. And then we have the http get move endpoint. So this endpoints basically uh, catches all those commands, all those robot commands which for which the is move property is true. It checks for the commands which have, it filters the commands using which we get the commands which have uh, for which the is move command, is move property is true. Then uh, we fetch the any particular uh, command using its id, using the http get id, and this will return the that particular id for from the list. And like there are, if there are four commands, place, move, left and right, and we have defined them any particular id using the, as they are stored in the array. So id is the index number in the array. So using id we will fetch any particular command. For example, if the id for move is 3, then if we write in the on the postman that for get id 3, then this will return the data and the details of the of that particular id of that particular command. So then uh, we have our post command. So this command is post command is used to add any particular, add any new robot command. So uh, this method handles the http post request to add a new robot command. It expects data from a new command to be provided in the request body as a JSON format, and will be automatically deserialized into robot command object. It checks if the provided new command object is null and returns a if the object is a null, is of null type, it returns 400 bad request. And it checks if the command within the same name already exists in the command list or not. If the command results in the list, it will say the command with the provided name already exists, and it will return a 409 conflict error. Then it calculates the ID for the new command by finding the maximum ID currently in the commands list and adding 1 to it. So uh, every new command will be added at the last of the at the last element of the array, after the last element of the array, and after adding this will return 201 created response with the newly created command in the response mode. Then we have the return type as an created at root, which generates a URL for retrieving the newly created commands using the get robot root name. It includes the command ID in the URL, and the URL is included in the response headers. Then uh, there is another function which is the put function. Basically, this function is used to uh, update any particular existing command for. So it takes the one parameter which is id of robot command, and firstly it checks that the particular command we are fetching is exist or not. And if it does not exist, or if there is any other issue like if the command name already exists, then it will return the error. And then this function will work as the we will define all the fields which we want to update, and this will update the that particular command in our code. Like if we change the name, description, or any other field, it will update that particular field. But this function will not return any type of content in the body of the, in the response body. It will be uh, it will be basically uh, displayed in the get while we put the get request on the table. Then we have the delete command. So this commands help, this command basically takes one parameter as an id, and this id firstly check that the particular robot command exists or not. And since we are using a list of the all the commands are stored in a list, so the particular id will be the command at this particular id will be removed from the command using command dot remove command. So here we are using, this is a list name command, then remove is a function or an attribute for of the list for using for deleting any particular entry in the list, and the command is basically the index number or the id for every list. So similar to the put command, this command will also not return any content in the response port. Then we have the map controller.cs. Uh, so now let's jump into the map controller.cs. So firstly we have defined the similar one for using the MVC architecture, that is microsoft.aspnetcode.mvc. This command handles this provides a way to enable the MVC architecture in our code. And now let's jump into the code. So firstly, similar to the robot command controller, we have defined the root for our maps class, which is API slash maps, and we have defined the map controller for our for using the functions related to the map class. So firstly we define all our maps in the form of a static list using the which is of map type, and it is a list with which contains the data of map type and defined by the object which is maps, and it contains three entries, three maps. First one is these are the maps which includes all the properties like it is the id, then column number, row number, name, description, and the created date and the modified date. So then we have its first endpoint, which is the http get request. So this endpoint will return us all these uh, objects of this map class, and it will return us all the entries which are stored in the list of the maps, which is the underscore maps. And then we have another get request, which is a square. So this request will check that if if the number of columns are equal to the number of rows. For example, for any map, if there are 10 columns and 15 rows, then it will return only that particular map where the columns and the rows are same, like where the columns are 10 or rows are also 10, then it will return the data for that particular map. Like here we have columns as 10, rows as 10, so this will return this particular map. Then we are fetching this is another endpoint which is used to fetch any particular map based on its id. So firstly it will check that the map we are fetching through the particular id exists or not. If it does not exist, it will return the not found error, or else it will generate that particular map associated with that particular id. Then we have the post function. This works similar to the robot command, and so this will add any this is used for adding any new map. And firstly the it will check that the it will check that particular map to add that particular map, and for adding in the list of the map, so it will update the id with 1 and generate that particular map object in that list. and this will return that the we have added that particular map using the create at action, and it will return the name of the get and the id number associated with that map. Then we have the put command. So firstly, this command will be used to update any particular existing map, and if it checks that the particular map exists or not, and if it exists, it will update that particular map with the data enclosed in the JSON format at the by using the postman. Then uh, we have HTTP delete request. So this request is used to remove any particular map from the list of maps. So this will check, firstly this will check that if that particular map exists or not, and if it exists, it will remove that particular map from the list of maps by using the remove function, and this will also not return any type of content in the response code. Then I have our last endpoint, which is the HTTP get id slash x hyphen by. So this endpoint is used for checking that is this coordinate valid for the that particular map. For example, let me take this example. So uh, if this is the size of map 10 slash 10, this if there are 10 columns and 10 rows, then we check that if any particular coordinate exists in this grid of map, like for example, if we check for 2 and 3 where the value of x coordinate is 2 and y coordinate is 3, then it will check that is this value comes under the design this particular map or in the area of this particular map. If it exists, it will return true, and else it will return the false for that particular map. So it will return okay if it is true. And now let's jump into the working part of this code. So this is the working of this code. So starting from the get request. So if we fetch if we run this particular command, like for fetching the all robot commands associated in the list, we will use the get request, and when we click on send, uh, this will return the status as 200 okay, and it will return all the commands which are stored in the list of the robot commands, like left command, right command, move command, place command, and our report command. Then we have the our another endpoint, which is get robot command slash move. So this this endpoint will retrieve all the commands for which the is move command property is true. So it will return all those commands which have this is move command property as true. For example, for left, for right, for move. In these three fields, the is move command property is defined as true, and this particular get request will fetch all those particular commands. Then we have get commands with id. So this is used for fetching any particular command by using its id. For example, if we check any particular id such as 4, then and click on send, then this will return the data associated with that particular id, like at 4, at the id which is 4, the command stored is the place command. So this represents the data related to that particular command. And then we have our function for adding new commands. So for adding a new command, we have to declare some fields like name, description, is move, and all other fields will be generated automatically. So now we add some commands like I will add a command name as hell, and for this is move command is true, and we are providing it a description as this is our new added command. And when we click on the send, this will add this particular uh, command in our list, and the response in the response body it will return this list, and our this particular command is added in the particular list. So this hell command is provided an id of 6, and these are the description and details of this command like name is hell, description is this is our new added command, is move command is true, the created date are and the modified data are added by default. Then we have put command. So this is put endpoint. So this one is used uh, for updating any particular robot command. So this one is the last which I have used. So at id 6, the let me show you what is there at id number 6. So at id number 6 we have our hell command. Then now we will change this hell to Mayank, let's say. So we will use the put option, and we will change its name from hell to Mayank, and we will say this is the updated command as Mayank changed from hell. Okay, now click on send. uh, this will not return anything, but if we fetch this command using at this id at id number 6, it will return me my command with the updated details as the name is changed from hell to mail. Then we have delete command. So this function is used to remove any particular command. So it will take one parameter as an id. So at id number 6 we have our previous updated command which has Mayank as the name. Then we if we delete this command, then similar to that it will also not return any particular command in the output body. But when we fetch that when we fetch all commands like so, these are our commands which are in our list. So first one is the left, right, move, place, report, and the last one with id number 6 is removed from the list of robot commands which was named as Mayank. And then it comes to the endpoints of the map controller or CS. So firstly we have the get command for the map. So this will return all our maps with contained in the list of our maps. Like we have 3 maps with id1, id2 and id3 with the respective fields. Then we have get maps with square. So this particular endpoint will check that the this will return all the map with columns equal to the number of rows. So as in our list we have 3 maps with same columns and same number of rows and columns, so it has returned us 3 values. I will show you by removing by adding one field and giving this output again. So then we have get maps with id. So this one is used for fetching any particular fetching the details of any particular map with that particular associated id. So if we check for map number 3, which so this one is the these are the details with for map number 3. Then we add any new map. So for adding map we have to define some fields like rows, columns, names. So as I have discussed, I will change this number of rows and this number of columns. For example, if columns are 50 and rows are 40, and we set this name as uh, new map. This is our new object for the uh, new entry for our list of maps. Then when we click on send, it will add this particular map. So let me show you again the square command, as it has different rows and columns. So now this particular map is not here, and when I click on send, so this will return us only those maps which have same columns and rows. So it is not returning us the newly added map which has columns as 50 and rows as 40. Then we update, and we have our another endpoint which is for updating any particular map. So we are updating our newly added map which is at id number 4 with columns as 20 and maybe rows as maybe 50. As previous, the columns were 50 and the rows were 40. So this will not return any type of content, but when we fetch this map, so it will return us the updated map with add the id number 4, the name as updated name, rows as 50, columns as 20. Then we then there is another endpoint for deleting any particular map. So this command will not return any type of content, but will remove the associated map with this particular ID from the list of maps. So this map is removed from the list, as you can see. These maps. Right. So when we fetch this, so here the last added map was removed from our list, and then we have our last function, last endpoint, which is get map with id coordinate. So this one is used for checking that any particular coordinate exists in that particular map or not. Like if we use the map number 2, which has maybe a size of 20, and we check that the 0 we check for maybe 3 and 4. Like for x coordinate is 3 and y coordinate is 4, that this particular coordinate exists in that particular map or not. So it will return true if that particular coordinate exists or not. For example, if I change this to 40 hyphen 40, that x is 40 and y is also 40, then it will change its output to false, which represents that this particular value of coordinate does not belong to the grid of that map. So this was all about the demonstration video for this task. Thank you so much for watching this video.